Pythagorean theorem is a theorem that states for any two side lengths of a right triangle, the square on their sides is equal to the square on the hypotenuse side, or their sum is equal to that. So in order to find one side length based on the other two, all we need to do is to manipulate the formula a little bit, and we can look at this by some of our examples. So let's take a look. Just hit the golf ball 120 yards. He then needs to hit the golf ball 70 yards to the hole to get a hole in two. The degree at which he hits is a 90-degree angle, and we would like to know the total length from the tee to the hole. Following the format for this right triangle, we know that 70 squared plus 120 squared equals our distance from our tee to the hole squared. So if we simplify that, you can see that we get the square root of 19,300, which is approximately 138.9 yards. Let's take a look at another example. So, for a computer screen, the way they determine how big your screen size is by the length of the diagonal. Here we have a 30 by 40 screen, so we want to know the length of the the diagonal. And so we know that 30 squared plus 40 squared again equals our hypotenuse squared, or the diagonal squared. So all we need to do is add 30 squared plus 40 squared and then take the square root. That gives us a length of 50 centimeters. You can see how this might be helpful for a store to determine how big their TV screen sizes are, or just as a way to determine how big a TV screen is. In baseball, there's usually a play where a base runner will steal and the catcher has to make a throw down to second base. So we know that the distance from each plate, so like from home to first, is 27 meters or 90 feet if you want to do it in metric. And we can figure out how far the throw is because the bases form a right angle. So let's take a look. Again, we are going to be solving for the hypotenuse, so we know that 27 squared plus 27 squared equals our hypotenuse, or the length of the throw. So if we do that, we can simplify that, and we can see that we will get a distance of 38.2, or if we wanted an exact answer, it would be the square root of 1458, and that would be in our meters. Our fourth example is pretty basic, but this time we are not going to be solving for the hypotenuse. As you can see, our triangle, we are given the hypotenuse in a side length, so this one's a little bit different. If we know the length of a guide wire that holds up a flag and the distance from the base to where the guide wire attaches to the ground, we want to solve for x. So let's take a look. Okay, so now we have 50 squared equals 20 squared plus x squared, and in order to isolate x by itself, we're going to subtract. So that's where that 50 squared minus 20 squared equals x squared comes from. And then all we need to do to get x by itself again at that point is take the square root. So now we know that x is approximately 45.8 units tall. This last example is going to be kite flying, and in kite flying the goal is to cut the other person's string by wrapping around it, and you have a huge advantage if you can fly your kite to be the highest possible height. So let's take a look and try and figure out how it's very similar to the last one. We know the hypotenuse, or the length of our kite string, and we know the horizontal distance beneath below, so we are going to be solving for that height, or the last leg. So if we knew our hypotenuse, we would take our hypotenuse squared, and we would subtract our horizontal distance, or our leg squared, and take the square root to find the height.